Every character in Platinum End is broken in their own way. As from what we've seen, everyone was granted an angel basically moments before their death. So Metropoliman had to be no exception, and from what we've seen up until this episode, even though I think he was an extremist, I understood the idea of, wanting to save your sister. It was a human element to his, overboard psychotic character. The thing you couldn't argue is that Metropoliman is, the most calculated character that the anime has seen to date. He knows how to make these plans work. But over the last handful of episodes, we've really started to see that the Brilliant Mastermind is no different than any human out there. Typically, the characters, like what we just really got introduced to in this episode, who thinks killing and eliminating everyone who's poor or ugly is a rational solution, and that his extremist viewpoints that a very select few would openly want to admit is the universally agreed opinion. Yeah, you typically don't have all the marbles up there, and typically you're a few screws loose. And to see just how obsessive he was to his sister, it wasn't like it was one of those weird sibling relationships where he wanted her to all for himself in a marriage sort of way. He was that overly ciscon brother who didn't want to see her date, who didn't want to see her do anything other than beautiful, pure things. And the fact that he's the reason she stumbled and cracked her head and she died, there's elements of a normal person there, wanting to become God to save your sister or things like that. But when you really break down who he is as a person, he is beyond disgusting. I mean, I think it's interesting because his one friend there is when he originally was asked, what would you do if you could become God? I'd want money, or I'd want all the ugly people to disappear. That is definitely, the greed of humanity is something that is real with what he's saying. But the difference between his friend and Metropoliman, it's completely night and day. And the fact that, characters like Saki, to him would be the slaves. They're not completely ugly, so they can kiss my boobs. I was really interested to see his, if he would cheat or if he would actually play by the rules. And the fact of the matter is he technically is playing by the rules, but I like the idea of okay, one shoots and then the next one before they shoot, they move 5 meters. You can very much argue at the beginning of the episode, why would he want to play by the rules? He could easily just go away. But a character like Mirai is very much breaking him mentally because he is absolutely chaotic evil. And then you have Mirai, who is the purest of pure. And to have someone like that constantly tell you that everyone deserves happiness, that killing is wrong, it's going to eat away at him to the point where he's going to make not the most perfect of decisions, which actually reminded me of Light in Death Note towards the end of his run with his character arc. If you really look at the ending of Death Note and how everything went down, had a character like Light decided to, just not be egotistical, he very well could have seen 100 years of his life in what he wanted to do. But a character like Metropoliman is suffering the same fate, basically. Despite having a pretty good plan that now that they're so close, once Mirai shoots, he's not going to have time to reload. Honestly, despite Mirai clearly not going to die there, I'm not exactly sure what's going to go down. My only assumption is that Mirai would shoot, and then Metropoliman would shoot. Someone like Mikaido would use the wings to basically to take the shot for him, and then Mirai would then shoot again or something like that. That's the only way I could see that situation going down. I truthfully don't see Mirai shooting a white arrow or anything like that. But to have someone like Metropoliman pretty much trap himself as much as he's trapping Mirai, because his mentality is breaking, and as we see, his mentality was never all there given how obsessive he was about his sister. It's just the fact of the matter is he's a very calculated person at the same time. But as his emotional psyche is cracking, so too is his plan. And it's interesting to have a character like him, despite having an angel behind him, basically say he's not fully convinced there is a god. He's almost laughing at the idea. He recognizes that there's powers and that there are these creatures. Are they aliens? Are they actually angels? No idea. But if there is a way for me to become God, by golly, he's gonna do that. And it's interesting to see a character like that as it's being broadcasted by the kid who fled to the world. And most of the world is throwing up in their mouths saying how disgusting he is. And then you get a certain shot with these preppy high school girls. The one who is clearly the less attractive of the group is saying oh no, I guess I'm gonna get killed, as the other are saying, well, that sounds good to me in terms of only having beautiful people. There's a lot of disgusting elements and opinions about humanity. But the vast majority would not want that. It would definitely be a large portion of the population. I'm not arguing against that. But the majority of people would not go through with something like that. And it's just insane to see that as you're building up moment by moment. And seriously, the only way I could see it working out, because Mirai's not going to cheat, that's against his character, is he shoots back right then and there. Someone, most likely Mikaido, takes the blow for him, and then in return, Mirai can then shoot again. And then after that, who the hell knows? Because I just don't see how someone like Metropoliman makes it past this arc. I feel like this is his death arc. I just don't see a way around that, especially after broadcasting to the world what type of a person he is. But then again, anything could happen. I mean, this show, in terms of like what it offers in terms of what a person would do given the power, is an interesting concept because you have a wide variety of people. Because typically a character like Metropoliman, I mean, what would be his reason to want to kill himself? He believes in purity and all these like really self-absorbent things. The fact that if you have money and you're born beautiful, like you're this gorgeous person. As he says this, and he's starting to look more and more hideous as he's talking shit about Hajime, who was, yes, born ugly in the world's viewpoint, but everything we saw from Hajime with what he actually did in his final moments, he was far more beautiful than Metropolitan's will ever be, especially given that he was actually looking very similar to what Hajime did originally on the outside, as he's talking about how pure and beautiful things should be. It was a very interesting concept. I really loved the directing in terms of the visuals from when we're looking at the sister, right? They're surrounded by all these flowers and this purity, and as her dead body is laying there, she's surrounded by flowers. Like, you would naturally say that's a horrifying scene, and as he's talking about how she won't age, she won't become impure. And then you see, like, one of the rare moments in his character as of late, where he's about to take his life because he wants to be with his sister, and then in returns, you know, he wants to make her into an angel. And I'm just like, this man, like, I love Metropolitan's character. It's the best aspect of the show to date. But holy shit, he needs to go. Like, this man is truly, truly broken and disturbed, and there isn't a padded room in the world big enough to deal with the issues this guy has to reveal. And truthfully, I'm not totally sure what the kid's angle is. I mean, there's definitely some, like, suspicion in the community about whether the kid, like, fled because he actually was scared, or if he has something up his sleeve. A part of me just feels like he wants to expose the bullshit in Metropoliman, but I'm also not opposed to the idea that that is part of Metropoliman's plan, and if so, I mean, what's the point of broadcasting that? Is that to isolate the beautiful from the ugly? It's hard to say, right? Because you could easily see that being the logic, but you could also see it being like, I'm exposing just how batshit crazy this guy is, so even if he comes out of this one alive, ain't no one gonna believe the bullshit that he's spewing, but I guess we'll see. Very interesting episode. We had to wait a week for it, and I believe next week we should be getting a new opening, or the week after, I'm not sure when. Either way, I'm excited to hear that. I'm not sure if it's leaked already, but I like to just listen when the opening plays within the episode. But let me know your thoughts and feelings, theories, if you have any. If you don't know of the manga, leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.